See, it don't, you may not start off, if somebody say, listen, do you think that one day in your life you're gonna sniff dope? You're gonna be like, man, heck no, heck, not me, I ain't sniffing no dope. Do you think that one day in your life you're gonna smoke crack? Absolutely not. You don't think that when they was your age and they was in rooms like this, they said the same thing? So a traumatic situation can make somebody go left. And at a certain point, you keep smoking that weed. Y'all know how it is when you first start smoking. For those who smoke and those that don't smoke, pay attention. You first start smoking, you hit your first blunt, right? You're like, damn, I'm fried. You ain't never smoked before. You hit the blunt twice, you fried, right? Then after that, you walking away with blunts, you tucking off, you trying to get away from your mans because one blunt don't get you high no more. So what is happening? You're starting to need a stronger drug. And so now you're introduced to pills. And then once these drugs get a hold of you, it's like a chain. And then you become lazy and unproductive. You get up early in the morning, and as soon as you get up, you like, man, today I'm gonna go get me a job, I'm gonna go get my permit, and then you hit that weed. You be like, you know what, I'll do that tomorrow. So it makes us unproductive, and this for the brothers, I'm gonna tell you, it's been a scientific study, and I'm not making this up, that the weed is feminizing you. The weed is causing us to be feminine. And that's why you see a lot of sisters getting hurt, because these brothers are real feminine for smoking the weed. You say, man, yeah, it's a scientific study. Your body, pay attention, sisters, because y'all dealing with these brothers that smoking all that weed, and y'all wonder why y'all keep arguing. So your body has something called serotonin in it, brother, right? And every time you smoke weed, it lowers the serotonin that's inside of your body. And the serotonin is like the brakes that's on a car, right? If you get it.
She got on all green. That's Miss Heidi. She does a lot of work around the country, a lot of work around the state. More importantly, she helps us to help y'all out.
How you doing, Miss Heidi?
Yes. And guess what? I'm gonna say this one more time. Anybody we bring to you all, you can trust them. We're not bringing people in here that you all see and we don't trust them. Me and Miss Heidi, our team work with her every single day. So my point is, you gotta be around people that you can trust. Do y'all understand that, brother Elijah? You gotta be around people you can trust. So we wanna talk about that trust word later on.
I'm on TV, you guys know. One thing, just a few things I wanna share with you guys. Something I shared with the team last week. July, August, not the best month for me, but every time I see you guys or y'all call me, y'all just don't know how much y'all help me. When I say help me, I love y'all so much, and it's been a little rough. And on a mother note, for any of you all, and some of y'all not in the streets, some of you guys may get hooked up with the wrong dude, or you all know I lost my son, be 6 years, August the 15th, 2018. He was murdered. And it was something that I wouldn't wish on anyone. So before any of you all attach yourself to anything that's negative or get yourself caught up, young ladies, if you get yourself caught up with the wrong guy, young men, if you're involved with certain situations, think about your mother, think about your grandmother, think about the pain that they got to go through the rest of their life. So this pain right here is not that I remember him on his birthday or his death anniversary. I go through this every day. And I try not to think sometimes. So before you get yourself in any trouble, it's somebody out there that genuinely love you. And guess what? She's standing right here. One of our clients that's 14, when a situation happened with him last week, that thing broke my heart. Because I don't just say that I love y'all just words wise. I genuinely love you guys. If it's 1 o'clock in the morning, if I'm up, I'm gonna answer you guys. If y'all need something, I'm gonna make it happen. But what I need you all to understand that the enemy don't care anything about you at all. Sometimes we rep a street sign, or sometimes we say we from this area, we from that area. Them street signs gonna be there when we dead and gone, okay? Sometimes young ladies, you wanna be connected to the guy, the popular guy. Oh, he got 20s on his car, he got tents, you know, he's making all this money. But always remember what come with that lifestyle, okay? Either you can die or go to jail. That's what come with that lifestyle, you know? And always remember, it's somebody that genuinely care about you that's gonna go through that pain. Like right now, my son not going through no pain. He's not. Because the young man that took his life, when he hit him with them 2 bullets, he's gone. But guess who got to go through that pain the rest of our life? My granddaughters, they got to suffer. I got to go through that. My kids got to go through that pain the rest of our life, you know? And it's not easy. When I say it's not easy, it's not easy. So before you guys think about pulling the trigger, before you guys think about you want to stab somebody, I want y'all to take a minute to think and say, wait a minute. I'm not going to hurt them because they gone. I'm gonna hurt their mother that went through 9 months of pain. I'm gonna hurt their father or their grandmother that ran back and forth to the school. That's who's gonna go through this the rest of their life. So I'm not gonna hurt them. So I just want y'all to think about certain things before you do it, okay? Even that little fighting and all of that stuff, social media will destroy us as a people. It does. Because guess what? When we see somebody getting beat up on social media, what we do? We laugh. That stuff not funny. It's not. We do. A lot of times we laugh. But always put yourself, what if that was me? What if that was me? Would I want that to happen to me? So I want y'all to begin to think about certain things. And the way that this world is going, if we don't stay together, unity, if we don't stay together, it's gonna be a major problem. So I love you all so much. And I tell you guys this has been a little rough season. It has. So some of you guys, I haven't answered as much. Y'all know, I still love y'all, okay? Okay? But we're gonna make it happen. And I want one person to come in real quick, Cap. Can she come in for 1 second? Come in for a second. You. Hurry up. Yes, I did, baby. Yeah. Okay. Can you share just a little of your story for me? What part? Any part, how you got it. She just want to share something real quick.
Yeah, Joe. She can't go.
How you not getting just caught up. Okay.
All right, how I got locked up?
Yep.
All right. So basically, my name is. I'm sorry about them. My name is Shakaya. I basically got locked up. I had like 18 felonies and six misdemeanors and stuff. It was just me being around the wrong people and just wanting to be like grown. I was a mother. I was pregnant when I got locked up, and I had 2 kids already, and I was 16, and I.
Hey, be quiet.
That's everything.
Just go for it.
Do it. All right, so look. All right, I was 16 and I got locked up, and then I was on house arrest for 8 months, and then I met Pastor Ebony. Oh, I'm sorry. I met Pastor Ebony. I met Cap, and ever since then, I just changed. Like, I ain't been in trouble no more. I just been chilling.
She ain't getting in no more trouble, right?
Yeah, I ain't getting in no more trouble, because that ain't
It's
it.
up from here. Get up.
All right, yeah.
It's up from here, right? That's it. Okay? Woo. Listen, no, because I say this. Listen. When I'm talking, what we do, we be quiet, right? No, all of us have a story. And I'll say this, and I'm going to turn it back into the hands of Cap. All of us have a story, but it's up to us to rewrite our story. All of us have a past, but when you're able to walk past your past, okay? So my thing is, your story may not be her story, but it's up to her to rewrite her story, okay? Her chapter 2 shall not look like her chapter 10, all right? We got that? So all of you all gonna have your own story. It's your experience. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is up to you to take that pen and rewrite your story, okay? Because some people may say, oh, I remember she did this, I remember that. No, but remember me now. Look what I'm doing now, and y'all on a way to win. How many of y'all wanna win? How many of y'all gonna win? Woo! That's it. We gonna win, right? That's it. I'm getting this the pastor part. Go ahead. Okay.
Let's give Pastor some love, y'all. All right, we got a.
Love you, Pastor Ebony. I love you guys. Yes, I do.
She get more love than us, man. Man, the brothers don't even tell us that, man. Man. One day we'll get that kind of love, man. One day we'll get that kind of love. Hey, but no, it's all about having a good time. So thank y'all, sisters, and thank you, Pastor Ebony. I just want to acknowledge another special guest that came in the house. and he's getting ready to be a lawyer, an attorney. And matter of fact, he's Pastor Ebony's son. Stand up, bro. Come back, just come up here for 1 second. Come on up, Pastor Ebony. Let's talk to him just for a second.
Oh,
just
okay.
For 1 second, about your son.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I would say,
I want y'all to listen up, because he grew up in the hood too. Listen up.
yes.
He grew up in the hood, man. Look how God's already blessed him.
Yeah.
Talk to him, Pastor.
And okay, this is my son. I'm gonna let him. He talk like me. I'm a pastor, that attorney. Yeah, 2 minutes. Okay. Been to Africa, been to Japan, education. So I'm gonna let him explain himself. And his name is Tony.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? How y'all doing? Yeah. So I'm Tony. I'm Tony. Most people know me as Pooch in Baltimore. Probably, I don't know your age range, but I'm 32, so most of the time, probably your father, whomever else. But yeah, I'm from Cherry Hill, born and raised out there, literally hung out the whole 9 yards. Did everything, literally, everything y'all did. When I was 14, they gave us 22 charges, armed robbery, the whole 9 yards, literally. And you know, we protested the whole, and they ended up checking the video, realized we wasn't the ones. But long story short, I'm about to be an attorney. I'm literally from the same environment y'all from. I'm pretty sure I probably know the old head. Hung out with them. The point I'm making is, you can do whatever you want to. It's not gonna be easy. Trust and believe it's not gonna be easy, but my mother's here, I'm back in city, I'm taking the bar exam. You guys can do it. I literally was like that. So don't ever down yourself. You can get to those days where you're frustrated, you know, your situation, but it is what it is. Keep moving. I'm here, and I'm always be around. My mother, you already know. So I'm Pooch, call me Pooch. You ain't gotta call me Mr. Tony, just call me Pooch. That's a family name. Love y'all.
I just had one question. One question. When he was in Japan.
Yeah, thank y'all, because we don't want the state attorney had to wait when he come on here. So thank y'all, Pooch and Pastor. Y'all heard what she said. He can talk like her. So Pastor, we're being trouble in here. But we want to bring Brother Damien up, that you all heard from earlier.
Thank y'all. Man, I'm Damien Walker. I appreciate you guys for being here, but I want to commend you also. I do work with a lot of youth in Houston, man, and around Texas, so I commend you for being here. That's one of the main things, you know, and you need to give yourself credit too. I know we can have fun and we come together, man, but you have to give yourself credit for the efforts that you're putting in, man, because that's what's important. I work for a company called NICJR, the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform. CAP works close with us. We do some funding, we do some training and everything else. But our company is based around changing a lot of policies to try to work to stop a lot of prosecution of juveniles, right? We also do something called violence reduction. I'm the violence reduction coordinator, program coordinator for NICJR. So one of the cities that I work with is Baltimore. It's my first time in Baltimore, so I appreciate you guys having me. And I work with a couple other agencies while I'm here, man. But I want to tell you a little bit about me too, man. It's similar. And I'm gonna use a scientific term like Big Brother did. So at the end, I'm gonna say a word and I want y'all to repeat it, right? But man, I was 16. I had 16 felonies. Had a high-speed chase while I caught 11 felonies, right? So then I turned back around, caught 5 charges, 4 aggravated robberies and a burglary of a habitation with intent to commit aggravated assault. I shot a house up, got jumped on my little brother, and I ended up shooting the house up, man. I was 16, my little brother was 12. So I ended up going to juvenile. My little brother ended up getting arrested and being on probation when he was 12. So in juvenile, I ended up getting certified as an adult, meaning that, and this is Harris County, this is Houston, and they ended up saying, look, your case is, you already been here once, so we're gonna send you to adult court. So I went to the county jail at 17. The guy I went to jail with, he was 15. So I'm 16, my homeboy 15, my little brother 12. My little brother, I'm gonna skip ahead, I'm gonna come back. My little brother still locked up right now for murder. He went in, got out. My brother is 43, I'm 47. I haven't seen my little brother since he was 12 out here. When I was in prison, he would come see me. He got locked up, I'll go see him. So I haven't seen my little brother physically since we were 12. Our mother passed away while I was in prison. We both was in prison at the same time. So my mother passed away, I didn't know until she was buried for 2 weeks. My mother had been buried for 2 weeks, and I found out that she was dead, right? So I'm telling you, when you put yourself in the system, a lot of times, not a lot of times, no times do they really care about you. The other thing is the 4 aggravated robberies, I never did them. I was a crack dealer back in the 90s. It was tough back in the 90s. I was a crack dealer. I sold crack from time 13 till I got locked up at 16, man. I never pulled a pistol on anybody a day in my life. I'm gonna tell y'all what I didn't do that a lot of people hold like it's law. I didn't snitch. Man, I should have snitched. I knew who did it. I knew their mamas, I knew their brother, I knew everybody. They knew my mamas too, right? So I know you saying that don't snitch, don't hold it down, but look at what you lose. I lost 17 years. I went in at 16, I got out at 33. I did 17 years. At one point, I was locked up for half my life in prison. Got a degree, got out, got a degree, did a lot of other stuff. So I'm thankful for me going back to my roots with my mom, my grandma, grandpa taught me, right? But you don't have to do that. And I always tell, man, I did enough time for all of us. They tried to give me 120 years. 120 years. I ended up getting 5 25-year sentences run concurrent, so that meant that they was trying to give me 120 years. I did 17 flat, 16 to 33, and I work for a national company now, man, traveling, training. I work for Harris County. It was the same place that sentenced me to 5 25-year sentences run concurrent. I walk back in the same courtroom. Some of those families, man, I get to help some of those same families. So I want to commend you again and give yourself credit, man, because it's not easy, man. You're going to struggle. I've been out 14 years. July 20th was 14 years. So I'm thankful for the path that I was on, but I didn't have to go through that. I'm telling y'all, just like brother over there said, man, you don't have to go through that. You can make the choices now, because the thing is, now Texas and Baltimore are different. But in Texas, man, I got homeboys that they went down at 14, 15, 16. They still down there from the 90s. They still down there right now. There are some people that went down when I went down in 1993 that are still down there right now, right? So I just want to commend you for putting forth the effort, man, because I'm telling you, I know it's not easy. 16 felonies. I was a shooter. I sold crack, right? I did those things. I got degrees, own house. But it took me to go the long way around the mountain, man. Right, Pastor Ebony? Go the long way around the mountain. Let Pastor Ebony tell y'all about that. And I'm going to wrap up with this term. I'm going to use a scientific term like Big Brother did. There's a thing called ethylene. I want y'all to say ethylene. Ethylene. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Y'all ever heard that? So one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. So in Texas, you go down, you don't get a trade, you ain't did nothing. I got a GED, and I got a bachelor's degree. I'm working on my MBA. The last grade I graduated was the 8th grade. I got a bachelor's degree from the University of Houston, ethylene. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch, meaning that there's an apple and the chemical that it produces is ethylene. So one bad apple, Damien the bad apple. I come to Baltimore, I come in y'all community. Ethylene means that I'm rotting. That's what that means. I'm rotting. The apple is rotting. It's dying. The fruit is no good no more. It produces a chemical called ethylene. When ethylene gets to the other apples, what happens? It starts to rot. And it makes that other apple that wasn't rotten start to produce ethylene, right? Then if that apple gets to another apple, what happens? Work with me, what happens? It starts rotting, man. Y'all gotta watch the bad apples. And if you are the bad apple, because we humans, I'm gonna bring it back to our human form, because we humans, like sister did, like I did, like brother did, what can end up happening is, man, you can right yourself. You have an opportunity to right yourself. But a lot of times what happens, man, we do not care. We don't give a good god dog whatever about our opportunities, man. But when sister here, when brother there, when Cap, when we make it our responsibility, man, that's when we change the world. I'm from Houston, Texas, man. I promise, man, y'all my responsibility, man. Every chance I get, I come back. But the thing is, I'm working with Cap. I'm on emails with Miss Ebony. There are a lot of people who y'all are their responsibility. Man, take advantage of it. Because if you are struggling, you got people here that's willing to say, man, just write yourself and you'll be okay. So I ain't got nothing super captivating to say or none of that. I am of y'all, man. Even though I'm from Texas, man, I am of this community. I have experienced some of the same stuff. But you guys have to understand, take your responsibility as young as you are, take it and just make sure that you pass it on, man. You will have an opportunity. Thank y'all.
So I want to start with one thing today and just give you one word to go with today, because I want you to separate people that are successful and people that are not quite successful. And it's only in one word. Social media don't show it to you. How many of y'all look at Rick Ross on social media? Anybody see Rick Ross on social media? Anybody see, y'all don't fool Rick Ross? Y'all, yeah. No, who y'all look at on social media? Slim Thug. Okay. So look, okay, all right, okay. So listen, this is. I'm just gonna give you the key to success versus non-successful, and I'm gonna give you. It's only one word, y'all. This is what social media doesn't tell you. They always show you the outcome, but they do not show you the habit. The key to success is what kind of habits you have. You show me a young man that's going to law school and completing law school. What people don't talk about is his habits. You show me Tiger Woods, who do all this great work, but what you don't see is his habits. If you see a Captain Andrew, you don't see his habits. If you see the state's attorney, what you don't see, you see the outcome, but what you don't see was his habits. The key to success is that you have something that none of us have in this room. You have time to create good habits. I don't have as much time as you have. Captain Andrew don't have as much time as you have. But when your habits start aligning over and over and over and over again, good habits, guess what comes at the end of the rainbow? It's called success. I don't have the testimony that I've been to prison. The only thing that kept me out of prison was simply this. Every day, I tried to do one successful thing, one good habit every day. I am not creative. I'll give you an example, and I'm gonna close with this. I'm gonna show you how this works. When I was your age, I worked at a place called Phillips. Phillips Seafood Restaurant at 16 years old. I made $4.25. $4.25. At 17, I worked at a place called Famous Dave's, where they did barbecue, and I fixed barbecue. And then at 21, I worked at a restaurant where they had steaks. 16, 18, 21. At 35, I paid attention, I learned what they were doing, and guess what I did at 35? I opened up a restaurant called Milton's Grill, and at the bottom of it said, barbecue steaks and seafood. Well, where did I learn that? Where did I get those habits from? When I was 16 years old, I was up there watching them make the crab cake. So guess what I did? I learned how to make the crab cake. When I was 18 years old, they was putting the meat in the smoker, and I watched everything they were doing, and guess what I did? I started learning how to do that. And then I also went to the other place and I learned what they did. And guess what I did, y'all? I made a business out of it. All by watching their habits. You got a bunch of people in front of you with great habits, and the question is, what are you gonna do with it?
Hey, good morning. How's everybody? So see, I put, I'm good. Thank you very much. See, I put my looking like a country lawyer suit on for y'all. So you take this picture, you show it to some, not your mom or dad, probably like your grandma and grandpa, and they be like, yo, he look like he's from the country. My name is Ivan Bates. How many people in here know what the state's attorney does? Yes, ma'am.
Well, from my experience with the state's attorney, he wasn't a good student.
Wasn't good? I'm sorry for your experience, but what's the job of the state's attorney? You think they're there to put people in jail?
That's not what I think, but that's what y'all jobs do, to go off of like the case.
I understand. Well, the role of the state's attorney is to make sure that we quote unquote administer justice. Many people view me as the top law enforcement officer in the city. The police will make an arrest, the case will come into our office, we'll look at it to see if there's probable cause, and then we will then decide if we're going to proceed, meaning we'll prosecute that person, bring them to court. If we bring them to court, our focus are victims. I can't tell you the number of times I done sat there and had to have conversations with mothers who've had their sons or daughters murdered. We're really big on focusing on victims. You know, I don't want to talk about that. I want to tell you how I got here, tell you my story. I don't always share my story. You know, I don't think there's anything special, but I think it's important to understand the struggle that people went through. I think when you sit down and look at me and you look at things, you probably think, oh, this dude's a lawyer. What's he got in common with me? They doing this. He make all this money. He does that. He don't understand me. I get it. I really get it. But the person who's in front of you today isn't the person I was. You know, for me, I was blessed. I did have two parents in my household. My father was in the military. I see you got a U.S. Air Force shirt on. My father was in the Air Force. So I lived in New Mexico. I lived in Germany. I lived all around the world. My mother, my aunt, lived here in Baltimore, right up the street, 11 West 20th Street, Van Story Johnson Street. And so for me, I really didn't have a place that I really could call home. I lived every place, moved every place, met friends, met people, and left. Eventually, my father finished the military. He went to an area called Hampton, Virginia. Years ago, there was a basketball player, we called him Bubba Chuck. Anybody ever heard of Allen Iverson? Allen Iverson went to my school, went to high school with me. We used to call him Bubba Chuck. Had an uncle named Bubba and an uncle named Chuck. So we called him Bubba Chuck. So eventually, while I was down in Hampton, Virginia, I kind of just started doing what I wanted to. My father told me I needed to change my life. I didn't listen to him. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to pay attention. All I want to do is, once I figured out girls, who they were, that's all I did was chase women. My boys did whatever they wanted to. Now, when I was coming up, it's right when crack started coming up. But because I was in, quote unquote, the country of Virginia, it wasn't as violent. But people was hustling. They was on those corners doing what they was doing. That's when that started to happen. Now, I didn't really follow them, but I was around them. I wanted to be the dude who act like I was with them, but I really wasn't. I knew I didn't have a heart to be out there. Look, it took one good time for one dude to whip my butt, and I was like, yo, this really ain't for me. But I still wanted to make sure that I got, quote unquote, that street cred with them dudes. So I try to hang out. I try to be cool. My father would come looking for me. I try to dip and hide from him because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I really didn't pay any attention to school. So when it came time to graduate, I didn't graduate at first. I had a 1.9 grade point average. I was flunking out of school. I went to my teacher, and he said, what you gonna do with your life? I said, my dad said I gotta leave his house. I don't know what to do. We had what you call a shipyard down there in Virginia, where a lot of people I went to school with, they worked at the shipyard. They build ships, they build boats. When I was in school, I took welding, arts and all them, so I understood that I was a pretty good welder. But it was hot, I really didn't want to do that. My father said I had to get out of his house. It's time for him and my mom to basically enjoy their life. So I went to the United States Army. And to me, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. It took me away from Hampton, Virginia. It took me away from them dudes that I was trying to follow behind. And I went to the Army at 17. I didn't know anything. I never forget, we were on a big bus going to Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It is in the middle of nowhere. It is what's called the Mark Twain National Forest. Ain't nothing there but woods. It was so terrible there. People yelling, people screaming, making me do push-ups, sit-up, whatever they said I had to do, I had to do. When I first left Hampton to join the Army, I was 5'8", about 5'8", 5'9", about 160 pounds. I did so many push-ups and I ate so much food that when I went home to visit my parents on Christmas, I was 6'2", 225. I walked past my father, he didn't even recognize me. So I was changing my body, but I was also changing my mind, because then I understood discipline. I understood working together as a team. I understood doing the positive things. When I got to Fort Leonard, Missouri, it was 103 degrees. It was hot. I swear the devil was running up and down them streets. When I left, it was the coldest place on earth. It was 8, 9, 10 degrees below zero. Then we had the wind chill factor, 20, 30 degrees below zero. And I was what they call a light wheel vehicle mechanic. You ever try to fix something that's so cold you can't feel your fingers? I hated it. Eventually they sent me to Germany. Remember, my story started when I was a young kid. I lived in Germany, then I went to Germany. When I went to Germany, I learned a hard lesson. See, I really didn't drink. The reason I didn't drink alcohol is because my father broke me out of that when I was young. What he did is he sat me down and said, if you want to drink, you want to smoke weed, you want to have sex with women, come get your condoms from me, because I don't want no babies. You want to drink your alcohol, you come do it with me. If you hold your liquor, you can drink. He sat me down and gave me a glass this big and filled it halfway with scotch. Anybody ever taste scotch straight? Y'all ain't gonna tell. I did. It was the worst thing on earth. Indians, Native Americans called it firewater. I spit it out, it was nasty. So I really didn't want to drink because I thought that's what drinking alcohol was about. I go to Germany. When I'm in Germany, there's a man named Ruiz. Ruiz was a nice dude. I don't know anybody. I'm 17, just turned 18. I'm green, real green. Ruiz tried to be my friend. Ruiz tried to give me some liquor. I didn't drink the liquor. He was a little too friendly for me. So I kind of dipped on him and just left. Next thing I know, 2 weeks later, the FBI raided him. He was drugging all the new recruits and raping them. Ruiz is now doing life sentence in Leavenworth, Kansas. Once again, I sit down and look at my life. It's a U-turn. What was the lesson I learned from there? You gotta watch your own back. You gotta think about yourself. Even though you could be in the Army, it's very similar to them streets some ways. Eventually, while I was in the Army, I learned some very important lessons. One, I learned that I did not like digging ditches and taking orders from people. That's what I learned. Number two, you sleeping good, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's your turn to do duties, to do guarding something. They're gonna wake you up, and from 3 until 5 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna guard a fire hydrant. Don't no one on earth know you there. And then everybody else waking up at 5:30, so you got 30 minutes of sleep. But I also learned that the person who had the college education was the boss. I knew I wanted to be the boss. A couple other things I learned. I learned a lot about me growing up being a man. See, I was 18 now, and I was men 22, 25, 27, 28. I learned that you had to figure out who you were gonna be and stay true to who you are. There's a thing called French Commando School. Anybody know anything about the Special Forces? Green Beret, Special Forces, you ever heard about them? Well, Special Forces are the individuals who are the elite fighters. You ever heard Navy SEALs? That's what the French commandos were. So I volunteered to try out. 160 of us tried out and they took 16. I was one of 16 they selected. I was 18, I could run miles, I could put a 100-pound backpack on me, and I was the truth back there. Remember, by that time, I was about 6'4", about 220, and just ripped. So you couldn't tell me nothing. French Commando School was amazing. It was one of those things in which I learned so much about myself. You ever seen a movie where you have the people who are prisoners of war? They're a prisoner. That's what we did. We learned how to eat off the land. They treat us as if we were actually training to be like a Navy SEAL. So they dropped us off once. It was our last thing we had to do. It was a 20 miles. They dropped us off. We had to escape. We escaped. The next thing you know, we're running through these fields in Germany. And we run through these fields in Germany, we have to get across this river. It's the Rhine River. It's in Germany. It was huge, huge river. And there were 4 or 5 of us. And we have to get from point A to point B. We find a rope. And guess what? One of us got to swim across the Rhine River. It's October. It's like 40 degrees. That water is freezing. One of us has to tie that rope around us and swim across to the other side. Guess how many people could swim? 1. And guess who it was? Me. So here I am at 18 with a group of men, 25, 27, 28. They can't swim, but I can. So the problem is if we get caught, they're gonna treat us like a regular prisoner. So I tied a rope to myself and I swim, and it was dark. You don't know what's in that water. You don't know what's going on. It's dark. But see, when you're 18, you pumped up, you're gonna do what you gotta do. And I made it to the other side. I tied that rope to that tree, and I was able to get everybody across. And that was an important lesson to me, because that was a lesson about leadership. Leadership doesn't matter about your age, it matters what you have in here, your heart. Leadership, men will follow you, and women will follow you if you take the opportunity to really do what's right. Take the opportunity to push further and harder. I did that. After that, I finished the Army, and I went to, anybody ever heard of a college called Howard University? HU. I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C. Main reason I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C. because when I was in the Army, I wanted to be around black people because I hadn't been around any. Went to Howard University, greatest experience I ever had. Showed me, and I was around people that looked like me, talked like me, had experiences like me, and they were all about school, education, uplifting black people. It's a thing that I like to say, lift as we climb. After college, people say, you need to go to law school. Now keep in mind, I'm the same kid that basically didn't graduate. My teacher gave me an F or a D so I could have a 1.9 grade point average. I said I wanted to be a lawyer in the 8th grade. And the test came back and said I was not smart enough to be a lawyer and that I should go ahead and be a brick mason or a plumber. That's what the test said. Now keep in mind, what you also have to remember is, when I took this test, it was down in Hampton, Virginia. And let you see how we got this men on one side and women on the other side. See, where I grew up, I lived in a black neighborhood, but they made me go to school on the white part of town. So every day we used to catch a bus from this side of town all the way over here to the other side of town. The problem was, this side of town didn't want me over there. This side of town did not want to see me be successful. This side of town wanted me to do what? Be a brick mason, be a plumber. There's nothing wrong with that. But they knew being a lawyer, you can actually change the world. So I went to law school at William & Mary. Tell you about William & Mary. William & Mary didn't even graduate as first black from law school until 1974. Now, none of y'all were born in 74, but maybe your grandparents were born in 74. Think about that. 1974 is when the first time you have a black person graduating there. Law school was hard. I had people sitting in law school using great big old words. I didn't know what they were talking about. They made me feel like I was the dumbest person in the room, that I did not belong. I used to go home upset. I would write down the words that they would use. I'll go home to look them up in a dictionary. We didn't have social media back then. We didn't have no iPhones. And then when I did it, I realized they did not know what they were talking about. They used to use big words to make themselves seem smart. And what I realized was this: if I got that law degree, it was gonna open up doors. I finished William & Mary. I got my law degree. Along the way, I had the opportunity to work with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in Los Angeles, California. How many people know the NAACP Legal Defense Fund is? A group that defends the right in court for black people. Yep. So I worked for that organization. I was in LA. One of the main things we worked with was the Bloods and the Crips. Y'all heard of them gangs? So I worked real close with the Grape Street Crips. Back then, they were shooting and killing each other left and right. One of the things we did is we helped negotiate the gang peace treaty. It's because back in California, you had a 3 strikes law. You had 3 felonies, you was going away pretty much your whole life. Didn't matter what the felony was, could have been simple theft. So we worked very closely with them. We also worked very closely with individuals. There were the police, the sheriff's departments were releasing dogs, canines, on blacks and Latinos. Out of every 100 times they were released, 99 times those dogs were biting individuals. Once we filed a lawsuit, they decided to settle, and the last thing I did with my legal clerkship is I took a check for $250,000 to a man that was doing prison time in Allenworth up in Pennsylvania. So I was always sitting there defining and fighting for people. When it came time to graduate from law school, I wanted to go back to work in LA. My mom said, look, my sister, your aunt needs you. She's 75, she doesn't have anybody. I need you to go to Baltimore. So I moved to Baltimore, and that was 1995, and y'all weren't born. 1995, I moved to Baltimore. And ever since then, I've loved this city more and more. When I first got here, I was a judicial law clerk. I worked for a judge. Eventually, I became an assistant state's attorney. I worked in the office that now I'm the head of. How many of y'all ever heard of Rognall Heights Middle School? So Rognall Heights is important to me, Southwest. One of my places when I was over there in being a prosecutor, I was in Southwest District. Well, I felt I couldn't necessarily prosecute if I didn't know the people, I didn't know the community. So I became a middle school basketball coach for Rognall Heights. That was one of the things that allowed me to look and see certain things, what was going on. And doing that, this was a long time ago, bro. Yeah, you weren't even thought of. This is like 1997. One of the things that I learned was to understand Baltimore, you had to understand the people. You had to understand the struggles of the people. After being a state's attorney for 6 years, I went everything from misdemeanor cases all the way to homicides. So yes, in my practice, I have put people away in jail for the rest of their life because they've murdered numbers of people. Eventually, I became, as you said, a defense attorney. I represented, now if you ask some of your uncles, your cousins, ask the streets, yeah, I base represented a whole bunch of people. And I was really good at that job. I won a lot of cases. I did cases all around the country. I did a drug kingpin case out there in LA. I did another drug case in Colorado. I've done cases in Louisiana. I've done other drug cases in Northern Virginia. I've done them all. I will tell you, being a criminal defense attorney gave me a lifestyle that I never knew I was going to be able to make that type of money. However, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and that changed my life. I love being a girl dad. Greatest thing on earth is my little girl. But what I also realized is when you're a criminal defense attorney, you really get to know your clients. You get to know their families. And what I also realized is every year, 5 or 6 of my clients were murdered. Every single year, 5 or 6 young people that I knew were murdered. Especially when they changed the laws to make weed now a citation. 6 of my clients got murdered almost, I think, the same week or same month. And so what you realize is that life is important. And as good as I was, as successful as I was as being a criminal defense attorney and quote unquote getting people off, I knew Baltimore wasn't safe. Yeah, I could make all the money in the world and I was good, but what about my daughter? What about, could she go to the playground without someone running up and shooting up the block? What about you? What about your future? I want my daughter to have a good future, but I want you to have a good future. I was tired of going to funerals. I was tired of using some of the legal fees that people had paid me to give it to their family so they could bury their loved ones. So I ran to be the state's attorney of Baltimore City. The first time I ran, I lost. You're not always gonna win. Remember, life is gonna be about how do you push through it. And the second time I ran and I won. Now, some people say, man, Bates, you ain't playing. I'm not. And I tell everybody, if you have an illegal handgun, you're going to jail. I don't care who you are. If you have a legal handgun, you're going to jail. And why is that? Because I know if you have an illegal handgun and you get into, and you get into an argument and you angry and you pull that gun and you pull that trigger and that bullet hits that person in that chest and they're dead, you can't take that back. I'm trying to save you from yourself. Now, if you're gonna fight, you're gonna fight. It is what it is. I grew up fighting. But you're not gonna use these guns. And if you have a felony and you have an illegal handgun, I really gotta sit you down. Now, I'm not trying to sit you down to ruin your life. I'm trying to make sure we get your attention, the seriousness of life. Because I'm tired of seeing too many young brothers and sisters throw their lives away. The other thing that y'all don't know is I get now individuals who've been in jail 20, 30 years that pulled the trigger when they were 16, now saying, Mr. Bates, could I please come home? I've changed my life. There's not a lot of avenues to get you home. if you're sitting in jail and you kill somebody? You're probably not going to win your appeal because only 5% of individuals that file appeals could actually even win. So then you go, you change, you do your life, then you realize your little sister that you left behind now is grown up, has children. Your mother now that was there with you has gotten older. Your cousins, aunts, they're now deceased. Everybody's changed, but you're still stuck in jail. So for me, this job is not just a job, but it's making sure I can do what I can to do so that everybody in this room can have a safer life. At the end of the day, maybe you enjoyed my story, maybe you didn't, but the thing that's important is that you realize, if you don't take anything else, don't you ever let anybody tell you who you are or define you in a way that makes you decide that you're not going to chase your dreams. In 8th grade, when they told me I wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer, I forgot my dream of being a lawyer. And it wasn't until I went to Howard University that reinstalled that dream to tell me that I could be a lawyer. And I know if I could do it, that I do know somebody in this crowd is also a lawyer. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you have some questions or anything, I'm here to answer. You got a question? When I was a defense attorney, did I beat Kingpin case? I won a lot of, yes, I did. I won a lot of cases. So you got to understand this. If I was winning those cases as a defense attorney, imagine what I'm doing now as the prosecutor, because now I know all the secrets. So that's what I'm saying. You know, also understand, I don't take joy in ever asking anybody to go to jail. I hate that. I'd rather just have you be successful. But you know what I hate more? I hate going to your funerals, young people's funerals more. Because you can't come back from a funeral. When you're done and that bullet hits you and you're no longer breathing, you ever talk to a mom that lost not one but two of her boys and the hurt and pain and how she would give anything just to hold them back one more time, to kiss them, to hold them, to tell them she loves them? And she knew in her heart that they weren't supposed to go out that night, but they went out because their homeboy called them, because they was gonna meet up with some girls, and their homeboys knew that they had just done a big drug deal and had a bunch of money, and their homeboys set them up to rob them and kill them for a couple dollars. See, I've seen that more times than you ever know. There's absolutely nothing in the criminal game that I ain't seen. There's nothing in them streets that I haven't seen. I done seen dudes who were some of the worst of the worst have some of the nicest conversations and cry like you couldn't believe when they were getting them life sentences. But when in them streets, they was carrying that gun and killing everybody. And they had them flints. And so for me, I care and love you guys. I want you guys to have a future. I want you guys to be successful. But you gotta want it more than me. Yes.
First and foremost, I appreciate your words. At the age of 19 years old, right, I pled guilty to a charge, alpha plea, right? I had nothing to do with the charge, but my public defender at that time, you know, I'm young, you know, I don't have a knowledge of self. My public defender at that time, you know, was basically making threats. If I don't cop out, they're gonna give me 50 years, right, in prison, right? So basically, my public defender was working against me. I got charged for the same charge twice. I ended up doing 4 years and 9 months in prison, right? I've been home for 11 years, working every day in the community. But every time I think about it, and I work with these youth, it just burn me up on the inside, right? So I really want to do something about it, but I want to know which way. How do I tackle that? And you know I did, you know, I had nothing to do with the crime.
You gotta here. Let me tell you exactly what it is that you need to file. You need to file what's called a writ of error coram nobis. A writ of error coram nobis sits down and says that this conviction is stopping me from doing other things. It is the type of conviction that I've done my time and everything, but there's something wrong with it. For instance, your argument would be the ineffective assistant counsel at 19, they didn't explain everything and they did not explain the ramifications. You also need to go pull your file to see if they filed what's called a motion for modification. A motion for modification must be filed within 90 days of the day you pled guilty. That would have allowed the judge to bring you back in court to maybe give you a probation for judgment. But you have to file a writ of error coram nobis. That's your only legal avenue to deal with that. Error coram nobis. You're welcome. It's one more. Well, you know, every judge is different. However, the maximum time period they can give you probation in the state of Maryland is 5 years. That's the maximum in the state of Maryland, 5 years. So depending on the charge, for instance, let's say it's hustling. The maximum penalty for felony drug distribution, possession of intent to distribute, or distribution is 20 years. So 20 years, and the state could say, look, we'll give you 2 years, suspend all but time served, and 5 years period of probation. So even though you got a 2-year sentence, the maximum penalty was 20 years. Every judge does things differently. Sometimes they want to give the probation to see if you will go ahead and change your life and can you do the proper things. Well, I never want to see any quotas. Quotas are wrong, and quotas would cause mass incarceration. I just want the police to write the citation. But see, this is what's different about the citation docket. Number one, there's no arrest, they write a citation. So let's say you loiter and you trespass. Let's say you got a drug, someone's, just copped, bought some drugs, copped, and they walking away. We don't want to arrest, they write a citation, you go to court. When you go to court, my office says, look, we're not giving you any record, just give us 5 hours community service. The officer caught you with drugs. Do you have a drug problem? And here's drug treatment program. Do you have your GED? Here's a GED program. Do you need a job? Here's a job program. What people don't realize about the citation docket, we ain't trying to jam anybody up. We trying to direct you to services so that you're not on them streets doing the things that you're doing. Because if you're on the same block every day at 2 to 7, you ain't got no job. And eventually you got to go to work. So I don't know about y'all, but eventually, if you ain't working, you need money eventually. So one of the things gonna happen, you're gonna turn to them streets one way or another, or whoever's funding your lifestyle that you can hang out in them streets. I personally ain't got that in my life. I don't know what everybody else has, but you eventually gotta get out there and work, okay?
Thank you. Hold on. Oh, damn, they got a couple of questions. You got this time?
Oh yeah, I got time.
I want to ask the young people first. Do
Yep.
y'all now know why we brought them here? Y'all understand why we brought them here? Why? Tell me why. Huh? Huh? Say live? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What else? Absolutely. To explain. Anybody else on that side? Right. Thank you. I got something for all three of y'all, but we brought them here because we know he cared. That's why we brought him. That's why it's important you all listen to what he's saying. Thank you. Yeah.
I got 2 questions. Now, one of the things they give me in my job is they give me what's called a challenge coin. And I have 2 questions. One for the boys and one for the ladies. The men and the ladies. For the ladies. Okay, one for this side and one for that side. You're right. You need to be a lawyer. That was quick on. That was quick. So let me ask you this. When I was in the Army, what did I participate in that allowed me to swim across that river? What was the name of that program? Now I see a man right there. Raise your hand first. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Want to go ahead and say it? It's all right. You can stand up and say it. Huh? It's all right, my man. All right. I think I saw a hand over here. Yeah, but what's the name of the Special Forces? All right, it's French something. Command School. All right.
Uh-oh.
There you are.
Uh-oh.
Good job, good job.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And here, this side. What was one of the main reasons that I ran to be state's attorney?
Oh, because you wanted to be a lawyer in 8th grade and they told you couldn't be it and then you wanted to prove it.
That's part of it, but there's something else that's closer to me. I am a what, Dad?
I'm a girl dad.
You're right. Got my daughter. There you are. All right. So look, I really enjoyed being here. Thank you so much. I want to go ahead and bring this brother up. Yeah. I want to get this to you because of what you do. One of the things that people don't realize is when you have a challenge coin, basically what that is, it's a part of who you are and what you stand for, and you give this to them. And when you give this to them, to somebody, it's a gesture and it's a gift from me to you to sit down and say that you are important and that you're a part of that circle. It's very, very important. You know, not everybody has that opportunity, but when you give that challenge coin, it says that we have a friendship and we have a bond. I want to thank you so much for all the work that you do, and anytime you need me, I'm here, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, let's get a state attorney some love, y'all. Hey, you got time to take a couple pictures with the young people?
Without a doubt.